For Dolphins Central, here's Ryan Yusefi and Thomas Galicia.
I wonder how clear it must look from there to here. No obstruction, the selfish corruption, all in this atmosphere. No fear, less tears, only time to catch my breath. I felt you in hell, your love has stretched my chest.
Welcome, everybody, to Dolphins Central Radio. Welcome, everybody, to Dolphins Central Radio. I'm Thomas Galicia, and one thing you'll notice is that my normal co-host, Ryan Yusefi, is not with us. He decided to leave the program in order to pursue various other projects that he has. But I'd like to personally thank Ryan for helping us out on the show and for being such a great co-host, and we wish him nothing but further success in his future endeavors. And, well, we will have him back on the show as a guest at some point in time. Now I'd like to welcome our new co-host to the show. He is a two-time published author of two poetry books, one called Home Sweet Home, the other called
Natural Born Kidder.
That's right, and he's also permanently working on that third one. That's going to come soon. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome our new co-host, Albert Del Toral.
I'd like to be known as the pride of Hialeah.
That's right. He likes to be known as the pride of Hialeah. The only other real football-related person we could attribute that to is Ted Hendricks. And if you're listening to the show, I hope you know who Ted Hendricks is.
Raiders.
Yes. Yes. So, Albert.
Yes?
Well, right now we have the new Dolphins depth chart in front of us, and right now I have the defensive starters. Is there anything surprising to you that you see?
No, I kind of expected Deion Jordan to be on there.
Well, he's the first round pick.
Yeah. No, everything there looks good, man. Cameron Wake is of course on there. Possibly I like that roster there.
Yeah, one thing that does, sort of somewhat weird me out is the fact that there are so many defensive backs. You take a look, 11 defensive backs on the team, and then on offense we only have 4 wide receivers. And this is a team that only runs usually runs 3 wide receiver sets, but they only have 4 wide receivers on the roster with Marvin McNutt and Brian Times both being relegated to the practice squad. What are they going for? What do you think they're going for? Because your guess is as good as mine.
I don't know, but they do have a bunch of wide receivers that showed promise in the preseason there. Marvin McNutt made that last game very interesting with that last minute touchdown there.
Yeah, he did, and for that he was rewarded with a practice squad. Why? So that Don Jones could remain on the team, so that R.J. Stanford, who a former guest on our show, who I didn't think had such a great preseason, could remain on the team. But there is a good reason for this, and that is, you look at the Dolphins at cornerback, they don't exactly have great players, so to speak. They have Brent Grimes, who is a great player, and then that's it. Take a look at the rest of their corners. Their second corner is Dimitri Patterson. He's okay, not great. Nolan Carroll's but not. Will Davis, he showed a lot of promise during the preseason as a cornerback. The only problem that he seemed to have was that he was getting burnt just as many times as he was making plays. And, I mean, how do you feel about the Dolphins having that type of cornerback in the backfield?
It could be better.
It could be better, but it could be a lot worse. Did you see the secondary last year?
What secondary?
Exactly. The same secondary that cost them the game against the Colts.
What secondary?
Yeah, this time around we have a playmaker in Brent Grimes.
Yeah, we have a couple good players.
Yes, and Will Davis he wants to be a playmaker, but his tendency to gamble does mean that he gets beat at times. But he is going to be used in nickel and dime plays mainly, and I feel confident having him there. Jamar Taylor has to get healthy, which is the reason why R.J. Stanford and Don Jones is still on the team. But it's still concerns me that we have to have so many corners because apparently Ireland just didn't seem to bring in the right ones again. At least that's how it seems. But then you look at wide receivers and the fact that they're only carrying 4, and I don't know if this is ever going to make any sense to me. Now, I will say this: Marcus Thigpen's going to be used in the slot. Now, you saw him returning kickoffs. What type of damage do you think he can do in the slot?
From what we saw at the practice, he looks like he could do a lot. I mean, he looks like he has a lot of potential on him.
Yeah, he does. He does, and you're going to see him being used in the slot a lot. You're going to see Lamar Miller being used in the slot a lot. Also of note, the Dolphins released Evan Rodriguez after he initially made the final 53 to bring in Tyler Klutz. Klutz originally played for the Chicago Bears a couple years ago, last year, and during the preseason he played for the Houston Texans, but they released him, and he's more of a blocking fullback, which I guess he's really replacing what they intended to have with when they were attempting to sign Vontae Leach. Now, taking a look at the tight ends, obviously without Dustin Keller, you have a lot of inexperience there. Out of the 3 between Charles Clay, Michael Agnew, and Deion Sims, who do you see contributing the most?
Well, it looks like Charles Clay got the first slot, so I'm guessing the Dolphins expect the most from him. Deion Sims looked awesome in preseason, I'll tell you that much. I don't know, man. Either of these guys can perform. They all look good. I like our tight ends this year.
You do know Michael Agnew's still playing for the Dolphins, right?
Yeah, of course.
It's my honest opinion, by the way, that the only reason Agnew was still with the Dolphins is because Keller got hurt. Had Keller remained healthy, Agnew would have been waived. He has looked better with his blocking, but all of a sudden it's now that he's forgotten how to catch the football. I don't understand that, but we shall see. He's going to, he's going to play. He's going to, play, a decent number of snaps this year. Really, it's going to be a tight end by committee, the same way that everyone would normally do their fantasy team if they couldn't get a Jimmy Graham or a Rob Gronkowski.
You should always try to get a Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah, definitely. Assuming he's healthy. He might not be healthy. You just don't know. So, other
no, man, that guy. What is he? 6'6", 6'7"? I mean, a tight end that big, it's hard to come across. Even an unhealthy Gronkowski is better than most tight ends in the league.
That's true, but again, right now he's unhealthy, but he might be back for week 2 against the Jets for the Patriots. But we'll save that for the Patriots guys to talk about.
The Jets still have a football team?
It's a football team in the loosest sense of the word,
Okay, they're having so many issues over there. They don't even have a quarterback yet. You realize that?
I think you have them confused with the Buffalo Bills.
No, they don't have a quarterback. They still have a competition going on with Sanchez and Geno Smith.
No, the competition's over.
It's really not because they're both injured right now. I mean, they're both battling injuries, so I don't know if it is. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, the Bills are a bit worse off, though.
Yeah, the Bills have all sorts of injuries, too.
But if I were to guess, which roster I would take at its best potential, with everyone healthy, I would take the Bills over the Jets. So, based off of that, how well do you think the Dolphins should do in their division this year?
We're easily first or second in this division.
I wouldn't say easily first.
The Patriots have a lot of question marks right now, so I said easily first or second. I'm not saying first for sure, not second for sure, but one of those two.
The Patriots have the answers to all of those questions. Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. They're going to win the AFC East again.
More than likely.
However, I believe it's time for us to give our Super Bowl picks, don't you?
It's a little too early in the season for that. We haven't even played game 1.
Yeah, but everyone else is doing it.
I haven't even come up with my Super Bowl prediction, so that's all you, man.
All right, I'm about to enrage you. Are you ready for mine?
All right, go for it.
Okay. Drum roll. The Cincinnati Bengals.
What?
I'm not done yet. Versus the Dallas Cowboys.
The Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah.
Okay, look, I know they got the best front seven in that division, but
Not really.
They're the Dallas Cowboys. They'll find a way to screw that up.
Yeah, you can say screw.
There's our drum roll.
I believe that was more of a rim shot. That's a drum roll.
There we go. That's a drum roll. All right, so.
Let me give you my explanation why.
All right.
Well, I believe the Cowboys' defense has gotten a lot better from last year, and I actually thought that the Cowboys' defense was the problem.
Can I give you 2 words as to why the Dallas Cowboys will not be in the Super Bowl?
Sure.
Tony Romo.
Can I give you 2 words as to why they will be in the Super Bowl?
Sure.
Tony Romo.
Wow. I know him as a choke artist. Apparently, you know him as something else.
No. Here's the thing. He has been a choke artist in the past.
This is the same guy who found a way to screw up a... never mind.
He hasn't been the reason for the Cowboys' problems the last 2 years. If anything, he's kept them in the division race the last 2 years. Remember,
He's a good regular season quarterback. He's not a postseason quarterback.
well, he hasn't been in the postseason in a while, actually. Once because of injury, and twice because of the Cowboys' faulty defense because they trust a Ryan brother. Now they brought in Monty Kiffin. He's bringing that Tampa 2 in there.
I don't think I'm going to be agreeing with your opinion there.
Of course not.
All right, so you want my prediction then?
Yes.
All right. I hate doing this so early in the year. I like to see. I guess I'll go. I don't know. I think the Denver Broncos look really good this year. I think they might have a good shot at it. Green Bay always looks good. They might be in there. I don't know. Those are the only 2 teams that I pretty much right now think can see getting in there. Maybe the Giants again. They're always pretty solid. I don't know who else, honestly.
So you're going with Broncos Packers.
More than likely Broncos Packers.
All right. I'm actually not a big believer in the Denver Broncos this year. Let me tell you why.
Peyton Manning, Wes Welker. No? Nothing? 13-3 last year?
Von Miller suspended.
For 4 weeks.
Try 6.
6 weeks. He'll be back.
Elvis Dumerville's in Baltimore.
And then now LB's down here.
Yeah, still.
Teams adjust. That's what they do.
Denver's secondary is just as bad as it was last year. And you'll recall Denver's secondary cost them the game against Baltimore. Oh, yeah, and John Fox is still the coach, and John Fox, as we saw during that game when he pretty much infuriated me, didn't seem to have the guts to, think, oh, I have Peyton Manning with 37 seconds left. Let me try to throw the ball and get a field goal. He went for overtime with Peyton Manning and 37 seconds left.
Look, I'm a big believer in Peyton Manning. I don't care if he's injured, old. I don't care. Peyton Manning is one of the greatest QBs ever.
No, he is. He is. Thing is, the team around him,
It's a really good team.
I don't see a good defensive team there this year, like there was the last couple years.
In their division, they don't really need to be the best.
No, they're going to win the division. Are you kidding? Have you seen the train wreck?
They just need to make the playoffs. Come on. The Raiders ain't going nowhere.
But
the
I don't-
Raiders aren't going anywhere.
But I don't trust them in the playoffs. I think Cincinnati has a better defense than the Broncos. I also think New England has a better defense than the Broncos. Pittsburgh has a better defense than the Broncos. I'll say it. I have the Dolphins making the playoffs, and they have a better defense than the Broncos.
I agree that Pittsburgh and New England have better defenses. But I don't think either of those teams going to Super Bowl this year.
You're going with Denver.
I do. I am.
You're going to change your pick by week 6, aren't you?
Probably.
As for Green Bay, well, actually, again, I doubt their defense a lot. And I'm a big believer in Aaron Rodgers, too.
Well, like I said when we got off with this segment, I don't really like to make my Super Bowl predictions till about week 3 or 4 usually when I gotten a chance to see all the teams performing well together. Preseason doesn't give you much insight into the teams, you know?
I'm not going based off of preseason. I'm going based off of what I've seen from these teams last year, how they ended last year, and what changes they have made or have not made. And I haven't seen Denver really do anything to shore up that secondary. It's still Champ Bailey out there, and
Well, Champ Bailey's pretty good.
yeah, it's 2013. You do know that, right?
Ouch. Poor Champ.
I'm just saying. I mean, that was probably one of the better trades in NFL history when the Broncos traded Clinton Portis to obtain him. But
That was a long time ago now.
exactly. And I really didn't see any upgrades on defense with them. I really didn't like the draft that they had. It seemed to me they're falling into the same trap that the Colts did when they had Peyton, which is they got too complacent and thought, "Oh, we have Peyton. We're in a weak division. We can get in there with 11 games. We'll be fine." But you need so much more than that.
I mean, last year they went 13-3. I mean, that's pretty good.
But that was before they lost what they lost. That's the thing. And I think, this mess around Von Miller, he'll come back in 6 weeks, and I think it's going to take him a while to get back up to game speed.
But you don't think their offense is going to make up for what they lost on defense? I mean, they got the best slot receiver in the league now.
Oh, no, their offense is going to be awesome. It's just, I don't think it's really going to be enough because they're going to find themselves in shootouts all the time. And yes, in a shootout, 9 times out of 10, I'll take Peyton Manning.
I would too.
But also, look at their schedule outside of that putrid AFC West.
Putrid. That's probably an understatement for the AFC West.
I mean, they have a first-place schedule. They have the Broncos. Of course, they have the Broncos. They are the Broncos. They have the Texans in their defense. They have the Ravens and their defense.
Yeah, but the Ravens have lost a lot this offseason.
Yes,
They're
they
not gonna
have.
They're not going to be the same squad. They're not.
No, that's true. They're not.
They're not going to
But
be a contender.
I think they'll contend. I don't know if they'll make it to the playoffs, but I think they'll contend. Or about a 9-17.
Something like that. 8-8 probably.
Yeah, I think they'll contend, but I mean, looking at Denver's schedule, they'll get in just based off of the lack of competition in their division.
All right, so why are we talking about Denver? Let's talk about the Dolphins,
Yes,
who's also probably going to be a 9-17 this year.
yes, yeah. Well, and thankfully, he doesn't have to go against Denver because right now I wouldn't trust the Dolphins in a shootout just yet.
Peyton Manning against Ryan Tannehill. I don't know. I would always take Peyton over.
And I like Tannehill.
I like Tannehill too, but I'll always take Peyton over Tannehill.
So, what did you see out of Tannehill during the preseason?
Tannehill didn't play much during the preseason.
From what you saw,
I mean, he's still the same Tannehill that we know.
I didn't see the same Tannehill.
You didn't? What'd you see? You think he lost him? You think he lost a step?
No, actually, I saw someone that progressed every single week. First game against Dallas, he was terrible.
Yeah.
Second,
or as Barkley would say, terrible.
yes. Second game against in the second game against
Pat Devlin looked pretty good out there in the last game.
oh, yeah. But in the second game against Jacksonville, Tannehill, he started off slow, but then started to look really good. I thought he played his best against Houston.
I think Tannehill shows a lot of promise. I've always been, I'm a believer in Tannehill. I really am. I've always thought he showed a lot of promise since the get-go.
Yeah, I always did too. And
I think he's only going to get better with time. So.
oh yeah, he is. And I mean, the only question that there seems to be is the offensive line, and they're going to get tested this week against Cleveland's defensive line. Cleveland's front seven is looking very good. They signed Paul Kruger from the Baltimore Ravens. And one way that the Dolphins did luck out this week was that Barkevius Mingo, the Browns' first-round pick, is going to miss the game with a bruised lung.
And still the funniest name in football.
Yes, it is. Now, when you look at the Cleveland team, how do you think the Dolphins should do against them?
Against Cleveland, I'm predicting a Dolphin win.
I am too, but by how much?
I would say 24-10, something like that.
All right. Well, later on in the show, we'll have Justin Higdon on, and he covers the Browns for DraftBrowns.com. And we're going to ask him a bit more about what he sees in the Browns and what he might see in the Dolphins, and we're going to ask him for his prediction too.
All right, cool deal.
And as for what I see, this just has all the makings for one of those slowed down 17-16 games. And I actually saw a weather forecast for Cleveland on Sunday.
All right, you think it's going to be that tight, 17-16?
Yes, I do. Cleveland has a very good defense. They have a very good secondary, very good front seven.
Hey, you're going to throw Cleveland into a tailspin here by continuing to say the word good around them. They're not used to hearing that word in Cleveland.
It's true, though. They do have a very good defense. And the thing is, their offense, I think, is going to be better than a lot of people give them credit for. Rod Chudzinski, who was Cam Newton's offensive coordinator the last 2 years in Carolina, took over as the head coach, and he shows a lot of promise. And he has as his offensive coordinator Norv Turner, who, as a head coach, is terrible.
Yeah, it's one of the worst, in my opinion.
But as an offensive coordinator, he's been great. Well, everywhere except Miami, because,
the Chargers, the Raiders, the Dolphins, everybody.
No.
Norv.
Well, let me tell you about my Norv Turner story with the Dolphins. And that is the fact that he cost them a playoff berth in 2002.
Norv Turner cost a lot of people playoff berths.
No, but let me explain 2002.
He got a Chargers team that I think was like 12-4 or 13-3 when he got him. He ended up 7-9 with them his last season there. I mean, it hasn't been good. He's been a terrible coach everywhere he's gone.
He has 2 Super Bowl rings with the Cowboys.
Yeah. The early 90s Cowboys?
Yes,
right?
Of course.
Yeah. That roster was stacked with players.
Then again, so did Dave Wannstedt.
Yeah, that roster was stacked with players. Anybody could get 2 Super Bowl rings with that roster.
Barry Switzer only got 1.
We're just taking shots at people today.
Yeah, I know. This isn't our usual show. Now, but Norv Turner, as an offensive coordinator, I mean, he made Alex Smith look respectable before Harbaugh did.
Alex Smith has always been a very underrated quarterback, in my opinion, though.
And he did very good work with Jay Fiedler. The only problem I had with him was that final game against the Patriots in 2002, where the Dolphins all they had to do was win, and they would win the AFC East. And he had Ricky Williams as his running back. He was leading the Patriots by 3, and the Patriots were out of timeouts with 2 minutes left. Now, based off of that logic, what should the Dolphins have done?
Get rid of Norv?
Well, no, they already rode him. They already rode him that season. 2 pass plays. When all they had to do was run out the clock, and oh yeah, they had the leading rusher in the league. That's the only problem I've ever had with Norv Turner as an offensive coordinator. Other than that,
And Ricky was a beast back in those days.
yeah. Other than that, he's been a great head coach. Not head coach. What am I saying? Great offensive coordinator. Great with Troy Aikman's development in Dallas. Worked very well with Alex Smith in San Francisco. And he's also a friend of running backs, which means Trent Richardson should be pretty good. And I also looked at the weather in Cleveland. It's going to be really rainy that day, so the game's going to likely be decided on the ground. And that's why I actually have the Dolphins winning the game, but it's going to be, I said 17-16 earlier, I'll make it 20-17 Miami.
Oh, it's still a tight game.
It's going to be a tight game. Those teams are very similar, the Dolphins and the Browns.
I just don't see the Browns doing much to us. I really don't.
I don't know. You know the Dolphins haven't beaten the Browns since 2004?
Is that true?
Yes.
Wow. I don't even have a response to that. I don't know why that's the case. The Browns haven't been good. Like,
Part of it is they've only played each other 3 times.
oh, there we go. Sample size here, Tom.
One of them was in 2007 when the Dolphins won 1-15.
Everybody beat us that year except the Ravens.
Yes. And also the Browns went 10-6 that year.
Yeah, that's the year. They had Peyton Hillis that year, right?
No, that was before Peyton Hillis. That was the Derek Anderson year.
Oh, yeah, that was that year. That one good year he had.
Mm-hmm.
After that, he went. I don't know where the heck he went.
Yeah, and
He disappeared on that team.
he disappeared in general. Up until he had a whiny little tantrum after a Monday night game a few years back. And then the other two, one was in 2010 in Miami, which was embarrassing, especially since it was Jake Delhomme, and the other was Colt McCoy in 2011. Sample size does matter. But yeah, that's like the one thing Cleveland has hanging over Miami. But I guess who's the real winner in the end?
We are, man. We finally get a football season. That's all I'm concerned about.
Exactly. Now we'll go to break.
Football fans, check out ProFootballCentral.com for all the latest NFL news and analysis. Also, check out the very popular Pro Football Central Radio Network for awesome NFL talk around the league. Go to ProFootballCentral.com. ProFootballCentral.com.
Cigar fans, check out FifthDownCigar.com and enter the coupon code PFC to get 10% off your order. Lots of nice high-end cigars. That's FifthDownCigar.com. Enter the code PFC for 10% off your order.
And we're back, and it is great pleasure to bring you Miami's perhaps the most prized free agent acquisition of the season. He is Dannell Ellerbe. Dannell, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Dannell, just wondering, what led you to Miami?
Just wanted to go a place where I could start my own legacy. And they had a up-and-coming young defense that, they wanted me to be a part of, so I came.
Now, how does this defense compare to the Ravens defense that you were on last year?
I really don't compare the two defenses, but, it's a younger defense. We have a lot of talent. The guys are younger, so they're coming in quicker, faster, so hopefully we use that to our advantage.
Nice. Now, last season it caught a lot of people by surprise that you wound up signing with the Dolphins. A lot of people thought you were going to re-sign with the Ravens. How close were you to re-signing with the Ravens?
I had the mindset of going in and just staying there, but unfortunately it didn't happen like that.
So what players on the Dolphins so far have caught your attention the most that in terms of their talent, their work ethic, or whatever it may be?
Just the overall team, man. Everybody's just working hard and trying to get better and trying to win. So I'm definitely looking forward to this season and seeing how hard work pays off.
Dannell, I have a question for you. I know you're a former Georgia Bulldog. I saw you guys lost to Clemson this week, and you think you still have hope for the season, or are you giving it in already?
Oh, yeah, we definitely got hope. I don't remember the last time Georgia went under 500, so I'm still excited about the season. We always drop one early. We just gotta stop doing that, and we'll be able to do bigger and better things. But I'm still excited. I never give up on my boys.
Of course not. You're a dog for life.
Nice. Now, you and Rashad Jones, of course, both Bulldogs. So, did you watch the game with him on Saturday, or?
Oh no, I watched the game at the house by myself.
He was actually on Twitter. I saw him tweeting about it during the game.
Yeah, that was a great game too. Now, going back to the Dolphins and their defense, what do you think you add the most to the team?
Just no style to play, how aggressive I play, and just getting after it. They said they like everything about my game, the way I cover, the way I blitz. Just trying to do whatever they need to do to make the defense better.
Nice. And as far as the other linebackers as a whole, do you think the unit is one of the strongest in the NFL?
Yes, I'm always good with my team. We can compete with the best of them, man. We're looking forward to showing that this year.
Now, this week you play the Cleveland Browns, a team that being with the Baltimore Ravens, I'm sure you're more than familiar with. Will that familiarity help you out in terms of preparing for the Browns?
Supposedly they got a new coaching staff over there, new offensive coordinator and things like that. So it's not the same plays that they used to run. So I mean, I can't use the old plays, but I still got some plays to watch and still familiar with some of the faces over there. So I can use that to my advantage.
Very good. That would be great to see. And speaking of something to use to your advantage, last year, of course, you're on a Ravens team that defeated the New England Patriots in the AFC title game.
And he had that interception against Brady.
Very true. Now, knowing that you were on a team that was able to defeat the Patriots last year, and the fact that they are the main division rivals and the team that has to be knocked off, will the experience from last year be an advantage for you, and one that you will be able to share with the rest of the Dolphins defense that hasn't beat the Patriots in about 4 years?
Hopefully, but at the end of the day, I mean, still gotta go play football. So I'm just looking forward to this season and just looking forward to getting better at working and grinding with my teammates.
Yeah, no, this is definitely a season we are looking forward to, and seeing you along with Philip Wheeler and Cole Misi on that defense is something that I think all Dolphins fans are looking forward to. It was great the day we found out that you signed to Miami, and we hope to have plenty of future success as you build your legacy here in South Florida with the Dolphins. Dannell, thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. Appreciate you guys having me again.
This is Michael Johnson. This is David Nelson. This is Rob McClain. Mr. Antonio Gray. This is Antonio Brown.
Hi, this is Kyle Rudolph.
On the Pro Football Central Radio Network.
We're here.
And we're back. Once again, our thanks to Dannell Ellerbe for joining us this afternoon. Our next guest writes for DraftBrowns.com, and he will be the new co-host for Pro Football Central's Dog Pound Radio, Central Radio. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the program, Justin Higdon.
How you guys doing tonight?
Well, we're doing very well, Justin. Now, earlier we gave a little preview of this week's game between the Dolphins and the Browns. Now we'd like to ask, what do you see in the Cleveland Browns and the Miami Dolphins?
Well, one of the first things that jumps out to me between the Browns and Dolphins coming up on Sunday is the Dolphins' offensive line against Cleveland's pass rush. You know, there's been a lot made of the improvements that Browns have made in terms of generating pass rush and the importance that Ray Horton, their new defensive coordinator, places on getting pressure on the quarterback. And, you know, the first time I watched the Dolphins in the preseason, it looked like they were going to have some struggles on that left side of the offensive line with John Martin over there. So I think that's the first thing that's going to I'm really going to look at on Sunday. Then the second thing I'm going to look at is Trent Richardson. Yeah, he came into last year and he wasn't quite 100% healthy. He had a microscopic knee surgery about a month before the season. He started off pretty well. Then what we didn't know and found out later was that he broke some ribs, struggled kind of slower than what was advertised throughout the season. He's supposedly 100% healthy, so healthy that the Browns don't really have any type of proven option backing him up. So it'll be interesting to see how involved he's going to be in the Browns offense, and I expect he's going to be heavily involved to the tune of 20 to 25 touches every single game, which is kind of an old school way of doing things in this era of running back by committee.
Yeah, I definitely see that. I'm actually looking at the Browns depth chart right now, and I see Dennis Johnson and Bobby Rainey are his backups. And
correct. And they were just picked up yesterday.
Yeah, that explains why on our lens they both have double zeros next to their names. Now, what would you say is the main weakness for the Browns on offense? Because without Josh Gordon, at least I see one there at wide receiver. Would you agree with that?
The biggest weakness I'm looking at for Cleveland's offense right now is the guard spots. Right, they had both Sean Laval and Jason Pinkston who were slated to compete for that right guard spot. Both got injured in preseason. Both are going to be out for at least a couple of weeks. They could be starting a rookie 7th rounder, Garrett Gilkey, or they could be starting veteran journeyman O'Neal Cousins at that right guard spot. And I don't think too many people are comfortable with either one of those guys. And then John Greco on the left side he was a solid player for them last year. He didn't start out as a starter, became the starter, was really pretty good in run blocking. Got a new contract, and then promptly got manhandled throughout the preseason, especially the last 2 weeks of the preseason. So I have some concerns about their guard spots. Receiver, I think they'll actually be okay there. North Turner's had offenses with less talent at receiver. He's got Devon Bess in there that's, from Miami. That's going to be Brandon Whedon's safety blanket. And he's going to have Greg Little and Travis Benjamin on the outside. Neither one's really a proven superstar, but they can both get it done. Whedon's bigger question mark to me than the receivers. You saw Whedon get off to a real hot start in the preseason and then really tailed off in that third game that everyone calls the dress rehearsal. So it just goes to show you he's not quite there yet. I think he has potential for success in this system, but I'm more concerned about Whedon throwing the ball than the guys he's throwing the ball to.
Oh, I actually only caught Whedon in his game against Detroit. He looked very impressive, especially considering the pass rush that the Lions employ. But that was a very vanilla pass rush. Now, from the looks of it, the Browns might have some weaknesses at guards, but you guys seem very set at tackle with, of course, Joe Thomas on the left side and Mitchell Schwartz on the right side. From what I saw of him from last season, he looked like he progressed and he played better in each game. And Mitchell's going to have his hands full this week with Cameron Wake. How do you think he would fare in that matchup?
Yes, Schwartz really was impressive as a rookie, and he kind of reminds a lot of people in Cleveland of Joe Thomas himself. So there's hope that they're going to have a bookend set of tackles for a long time. But of course, anytime you got a young player facing a guy like Cameron Wake, there's some concern there. Wake's a veteran. He's got a lot of tricks up his sleeve. And my guess is that Joe Thomas has been in Mitchell Schwartz's ear, and the two of them have been in the film room together studying those kind of tricks that maybe Schwartz didn't see out of some pass rushers last year. But the good thing about playing in the AFC North, which is always stacked with solid defenses, is that Schwartz always sees his share of good pass rushers from Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. Sees a steady dose. So I think he's equipped to handle it. Physically, he's a strong guy. He's got good feet. And, going into this game, as good as Wake is, that's probably one of the, I wouldn't say the least of their concerns, but they have so much confidence in both those tackles that it's going to be, I think Miami's going to have to try and generate some pressure up the middle. And if they've been following along, and I'm sure they have been, they know what I've been saying, and that's the weak spots are the guards. If they can get Schwartz and Thomas distracted outside and kind of loop some guys in, maybe can loop Wake in on some stunts, that might cause some big problems.
I could definitely see that. Also, an important thing to note is the fact that Deion Jordan is likely going to play, and you might see the Dolphins actually use him a bit, not only as a defensive end on third down, but also as an outside linebacker. So you might see him try to get through to the guards. Also, Jared Odrick is likely going to be the starter. It hasn't been official yet, but he's likely going to start in the interior defensive line, which he's naturally been a defensive end throughout his entire career with Miami. So I think that would definitely help him out. Now let's go to the other side of the ball for both teams, and that is with the Dolphins having Mike Wallace at wide receiver against someone that he should be very familiar with in Joe Higdon. Now, from what I've seen, Higdon's actually done pretty well in wrapping up Wallace when Wallace was in Pittsburgh. So do you see a lot of the same happening in Miami, or could that be different since Wallace will be running in a different offense where he's going to be running a few more routes other than just going deep?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I haven't seen a ton of Wallace running those other routes, like you said. Mostly in Pittsburgh, he was a deep threat, and he started out with Hines Ward drawing a lot of coverage underneath early in Wallace's career, and then later it was Antonio Brown getting that kind of action underneath. But I do think Higdon can do a good job on him. He's a physical corner. He's played with him in the past. I'm more concerned with Higdon. Anytime he's playing a guy like Wallace, Higdon doesn't quite have that straight line speed to keep up with him down the field. So you've got to have good safeties to roll over and give help if Higdon tries to get physical and gets beat with speed. So, but I do think, like you said, they're very familiar with each other. Higdon's going to be an issue for Wallace. And not to burst anybody's bubble in Miami, but I just didn't really think Wallace was the number one receiver in Pittsburgh and what he had shown the last couple of years. Even the Steelers were more confident to give a bigger contract to Antonio Brown and let Wallace play the free agency. I don't know that that's really going to work out for them. I'm not sure Brown is a guy deserving of a huge contract either, but Wallace seemed like more of a guy who thrived because Pittsburgh hadn't had a guy like that before he came along to take the top off the defense. They had done a lot of stuff underneath. Once Hines Ward was gone, I think they lost some effectiveness, and he also lost some effectiveness just being in Todd Haley's offense. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Philbin and company let Wallace run free, and that really brings him back to the Mike Wallace we saw a couple of years ago. But I'm not so sure he's really worth the money they're going to pay him this year.
Justin, I'm looking at the depth chart here on the Browns website. I noticed that there's no place kicker, but I saw that Dan Carpenter, former Dolphin himself, was going out for the job. What do you think are the chances of him making the team?
Well, the word is Carpenter is going to be competing tomorrow with Billy Cundiff. I think he was with the Ravens most recently. So I think most fans and recently, most fans would prefer Carpenter. I think he's probably got a stronger leg. They're going to try these guys from deep and from an accuracy standpoint. It's interesting that you come onto a Monday before Week 1 game day and a team doesn't have a kicker. And I can tell you there's a lot of wringing of hands in Cleveland among fans and media. They seem to think this is a huge deal. There is a lot of pining for Phil Dawson and wondering why the team couldn't hold on to him. There's a couple of different theories on that. But I hope whoever wins this job, as far as place kicker, doesn't go missing any game-winning field goals because the mob will be out with the pitchforks and the torches. It's going to be interesting, but I'm sure it'll be exciting for Carpenter if he does win the job and gets to face his old team.
Right now, every Dolphins fan is dreading that, especially since it would be so like the Miami Dolphins to see Dan Carpenter hit the game-winning field goal in Week 1 in his first game against the Dolphins. That's just been the Dolphins' luck the last 10 years.
There's a lot of karma pulling in both directions for these two organizations, too. Cleveland fans will tell you the other way around. Carpenter signs, faces his old team, and misses the game-winning field goal. So, yeah, it kind of goes both ways there.
Yeah, and we kind of feel like Dan Carpenter losing his job to Caleb Sturgis is kind of going to give him a little bit of motivation for you guys there.
It could be.
Yeah. Now, back on to draft picks. Now I said earlier on the podcast that Barkevius Mingo was likely going to miss Week 1 against the Dolphins, and how that might actually be a bit of a blessing for Miami, considering the the pass rush that the Browns have built up, and it looks very strong so far. Now, what is the status on Mingo this for this game, and how much will that impact the Browns and their plans?
I think Mingo being out. First of all, let me start. Mingo was at practice today. He was limited. Did some individual drills. They kept him away from contact. I think it's almost a sure thing that he won't play. But this Browns organization right now is kind of playing by some of those New England Patriots rules. You know, they could be holding a little bit back as far as how healthy he is, and it surprised everyone to throw him in there Sunday. But if he does not play Sunday, I think it's a big blow because they have a lot of things worked into the defense for him, including having him blitz up the middle, something that Ray Horton did with Darrell Washington in Arizona very effectively last year. So I think not having Mingo really changes the game plan, and as much as they tried to build up the pass rush by signing Paul Kruger, and they have Jabal Sheard out there as well, both of those guys actually were playing better in run defense recently. Kruger was much better in pass defense or in pass rush last year for the Ravens, but in preseason he was very stout against the run. Sheard was much better against the run if you look at a site like Pro Football Focus, and didn't really generate a ton of pressure. Did get some sacks later in the year, but I think now having Mingo is going to be a real it's really putting a damper on what the Browns really wanted to have as far as a full package for Week 1 and beyond. They're going to have to try and come up with some other ways to get pressure up the middle. I think that's a big part of their philosophy, and they could be trying some things, like I was saying with Miami, to loop some guys back inside and try and get them to follow some of these big defensive tackles that Cleveland has.
No. All right, and finally, Justin, do you have a prediction for this week?
I do have a prediction for this week. I think the Browns are going to come out on top. I think it'll be a fairly close game. Browns might get a late score. I'm going to go with 23-16. Browns win it.
23-16. All right. Well, I predicted earlier on the show 2017 Miami. And we'll see. May the best team win on Sunday. Thanks for joining us. And
thanks for having me on, guys.
And good luck co-hosting the Dog Pound Central Radio Show.
Thanks a lot for having me on. I'm really looking forward to co-hosting Wednesday night. Should be a great time.
All right, thanks for being on, man.
Football fans, check out ProFootballCentral.com for all the latest NFL news and analysis. Also, check out the very popular Pro Football Central Radio Network for awesome NFL talk around the league. Go to ProFootballCentral.com. ProFootballCentral.com.
Sting is going to do, it's a video, Sting video.
What is
for credits?
I don't know what that means, to play us out. What does that mean? To end the show?
Yeah.
All right, go.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. And we will leave you with I can't do it. We'll do it live.
Okay.
And we will be doing it live this Saturday from Big Frog on 98th and Bird Road, which is right around mine and Albie's stomping grounds in Westchester. It's right across the street from Flanagan's. It's the event we've been hyping up for the past couple of weeks, and we'll be at Big Frog, and we'll be doing the show live on Ustream. And Albie, what are you looking forward to doing the show live?
I'm scared, man.
I'm a little bit scared too, but that has more to do with the area, you know.
I mean, this is my first show, and I'm already going live with the second one. I mean,
that's how much confidence we have in you, though. You know, I mean, you're the first round draft pick and everything. we got.
I am the pride of Hialeah, right?
Yeah, we got to throw you to the fire, just like the Dolphins threw Tannehill to the fire last year by starting him against J.J. Watt and the Houston Texans. We're throwing you live to the fire.
Well, I don't know if I'm J.J. Watt just yet, but I'll give my best.
No, you're Tannehill. No, not Watt. I'm saying the Dolphins, they said, all right, we're going to start. All right, Tannehill, we're going to start you in your first ever game. Yeah, you're taking on J.J. Watt. Good luck.
Good luck, yeah.
So, yes, he is. But yes, we will be live from Big Frog at approximately 10 a.m. Come by. There will be prizes. There will be raffles. There will be lots of fun. We'll definitely get the crowd involved, and we're going to have a lot of fun. And, of course, afterwards, meet up with us at Flanagan's. We're going to watch the Gators and the Canes.
Yeah. Go Gators. Caleb Sturgis.
Go Canes. Just remember, the U invented swagger.
Whatever.
Yeah, you may call Miami Thug U, but you know.
The Gators got the swamp and the chomp, so.
Just remember, no convictions for the Canes.
This year. They haven't been caught. The shirt got thrown out.
That just means you got a better education at the University of Miami. You do know that, right?
That's up for debate.
But yes, it will be.
We got Tony off.
What script? I don't write a script. But yes, we will. If you want to see more unpredictability like that, yes, definitely join us Saturday morning. And on top of that, we're going to be hopped up on Cuban coffee too. So that means it will be unpredictable. It will be a lot of fun, and we definitely would love to see all of you guys there. We'll be giving away T-shirts. We'll be giving away a bunch of nice little prizes, and
what will these T-shirts say?
will be the most handsome T-shirts in the world, Dolphin Central Radio T-shirts, created by Big Frog, which of course is your place to go for custom T-shirts, mugs, whatever you might need.
Cool deal.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool day. In fact, I'm going to be wearing the sharp little polo that I know you guys can't see it, but Albie can definitely see it. White with our logo.
I see it there. The white shirt.
Yes.
Oh, that's a beautiful.
Yes, it is, and you're going to be getting one of those too. And
Oh, that's a beauty. I can't wait.
yes, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Once again, our thanks to Dannell Ellerbe for joining us, as well as Justin Higdon, who is probably going to be proven wrong on Sunday. Hopefully, he'll be proven wrong, because if he's not proven wrong, then I'm proven wwrong, and if I'm proven wrong, then I lose all credibility. Oh wait, I never had any to begin with. So, our thanks for joining us, Albie. Thanks for joining me on your first show. Congratulations.
Thanks for having me, man.
And we are going to see you back next week, and we're going to see you back on Saturday too. All right, everyone. See you on Saturday, and
Where are you waving at? They can't see us.
now I'm waving this. Fins up.
This has been a presentation of the Pro Football Central Network. For news, blogs, highlights, and more, log on to ProFootballCentral.com.